Hi everybody, welcome back to Bring Life Indoors. It's Moira here. Today is very cold. It's one of those days. It's raining and it's been raining for days, and it's that kind of rain that doesn't seem like it's gonna stop anytime soon. So yeah, it's a beautiful day to be indoors. So yeah, today I thought we'll just sit and chat. Nothing much. Um, I thought let's talk about um, things I've learned over the years concerning indoor plants, and I'm still learning. Um, just a few, not a lot, just a few. I want to talk about lighting. I want to talk about watering, and I also want to talk about repotting. Those are the three things for me. Um, when I first started with indoor plants, I learned a lot from it because I did a lot of mistakes in that regard, you know. And but before I go there, I firstly want to say thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking my videos. And thank you for your comments. Your comments means a lot. So I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, you talk about watering. I've killed a few plants with overwatering them, with regard to overwatering. Um, and yeah, it's not good to overwater your plants, but you will never know you are overwatering them until you get a case of root rot. Because sometimes you think you're doing good to your plants, because let's be honest, no one wants to go buy a plant and come home and kill it. Can we be honest on that one? You know, you'll be feeling, for me, I'll be feeling I'm doing good to my plant, you know. And I think in the beginning when I started, I don't know whether to say I cared a lot. I didn't want to see them dry, you know. I didn't want to see them, so the minute they looked like they're gonna dry out, or they were getting a bit, the soil was starting to be dry, I'll come with a watering can. And for some plants it was okay, but for many it was not. They didn't like it, you know. They didn't like it at all. So um in the beginning, um I've drowned quite a few plants. And they died, they really died. Some I was able to save, in the sense of I'll take them out of the soil, cut off all the rotten roots, and wash the plant off and stick it in water for weeks and weeks and weeks. Then I'll have roots develop. And once I felt it was ready to be transplanted into soil, I did that, and there we go, I had a brand new plant, you know. But some I couldn't save them, you know, like my aloe. The minute it collapsed, aloe, you know, it's gone. I mean, yeah, once you get a root rot with aloe, yeah, that's it, you know. I've killed so many aloes in the beginning when I started with aloes, because of overwatering. And all that happened was then the root will get rotten, the roots. And once that happens, it's gone completely. And your mothers-in-laws, you know, even that, in the beginning, when I first started with those, I killed a few of them due to overwatering, and the roots will rot, and the next day I come around, the plant has fallen over. Like you know. And your peace lilies, I've lost the peace lily over root rot. I've lost an anthurium over root rot. I've lost a Monstera deliciosa over root rot. And when yeah, you know, and with me it was just that excitement. When I first started, I'll go and buy a plant, and it will be the first time I owned that plant. I didn't know anything of it, and I was just happy to take it home and give it water. I was just excited to take it home, find a spot for it, and give it water, you know. And when I would go back to the garden shop and tell them this is what happened to my plant, and they'll tell me, the first thing they'll tell me is, you overwatered it. It doesn't like to be overwatered. You must let the soil dry out, you know. So yeah, that's, I've learned that over the years. And it's a joy when it's something you learn. I mean, I learned, and I learned it from my mistakes. And in the sense that now when I went back and decided to buy those plants again, I knew exactly what to do, because yeah, I knew exactly what to do. Now you go around my house, I've got so many Monstera deliciosas, and they're doing so well. They are growing big and beautiful. I don't have issues with them. I've got so many peace lilies that are doing very well. I've got some anthuriums that are doing very well. But believe me, when I first started, I won't sit here and lie to you. The only beautiful thing about the anthurium and the peace lily and your monstera, um, when I discovered at the time that they had root rot, I quickly took them. I took them out of the soil, and obviously you'll only know when you take the plant out of the soil that you are dealing with root rot, you know. And because then that's what they told me at the garden shop, that you might be dealing with root rot. Because I went there and I told them, these are the symptoms I'm seeing, and I'm watering the plant. And they asked me, how often do you do it? And I told them, and they were not impressed with me. They said it's too much, I must let it dry out. And then the first advice I was given was, take it out of the soil and check your roots and see if you are not dealing with root rot. And I did exactly that. I took it out of the soil, and there it was, root rot. It was the roots, most of them were rotten, you know, not rotting, rotten. So I washed them, I washed it out, threw away what was completely bad, and saved what was still okay. And I cut all the rotten roots off, and I washed the plant thoroughly, and then I put it in a glass of water, and I left it. And all I did was continually change the water out, and then and then I got new roots developing from that plant or the stem, which I was able to save from, whether it was a peace lily or anthurium or monstera. And then from there I could get a new plant out of it. So it's not always all um, lost when you discover that you are dealing with root rot. If you can catch it early enough, you are able to actually save some part of the plant, and you know, wash it off, stick it in water, and let it develop more roots, and then you can repot, and there you go, you'll have your plant back, a new plant back for that matter. So yeah, that is what is nice with some of the plants, that you are able to save it, if I may say that. You are able to save it, you know. So I was able to save them. I can't say I completely lost them. I didn't completely lose. I wasn't left without a peace lily. I just was not left with a beautiful bushy peace lily, which I started with. At the end, I was left with a stem or two, which I then had to put in water. And after a while, it developed roots, and then it grew into a nice bush. Over time, it grew into a beautiful plant again, you know. But it takes a lot of patience. It really does take a lot of patience. So that's what I've done with my monstera in the past. When that happened, I did exactly that. I cleaned it out. With anthurium, when that happened, I cleaned it out and kept what was good, and I put it in water. With peace lily, I cleaned it out, you know. um, eh, but then with I wrote the plants I've lost, because some of them I had forgotten them. I had to go and remind myself. But then with your peperomias, like I lost peperomia caparata recently, honestly, recently, 3 of them all at once. I was shocked. I shocked myself. But the mistake I did was, it was not even overwatering with them. The mistake I did, I usually bottom water them, I let them sit in water for them to drink from the bottom. But this time around, I um I don't know what was wrong with me. I decided to water them from the top along with all the other plants I was watering that day. I just decided to just water from the top. And then the stems got wet and all soggy, and they got all rotten. The stems, forget the roots. The roots were perfect. The stems got rotten, and then the plant just collapsed. They collapsed, and yeah, I couldn't save any of it. I couldn't save any of it. And then yeah, that's what happened with my um so if I do decide my peperomia caparata, so if I do decide to go and buy it, I know, and I knew, it's something I've always known, that I water them from the bottom, because I made my research when I bought them, a good research when I bought them. So I've always watered them from the bottom. But this one day, I just don't know, just thought, you know but I never knew. I just knew that the leaves don't like to have water on them. I never knew about the stems. For me, my reason for watering them at the bottom was more of the leaves not touching water than anything else. And only later on, when that happened and I sat down and I made a research, I came across a, an article where it says that the stems also don't like to sit in water, so they can actually rot. Not just the roots, not just the leaves, also the stems. So that's what happened with my caparatus, my peperomia caparatus. So yeah, so some plants you are able to save them, and even better, and you would have learned what you needed to learn, and then you'll have a beautiful plant from there after. And some, like your aloe, I couldn't save my aloe, it drowned. I overwatered it, and then the roots went, and it all went soggy, and it just went bad, just collapsed, just went bad, And but over the years, I learned, and today I've got aloes all over the house, and they're doing very well. But again, it's because I learned from my mistakes. So I'm one of those people. I always say, never not buy a plant because you're scared you're gonna kill it. Just buy it. Rather kill it and learn from your mistakes, because then the next time you buy it, you'll do well. You'll do exceptionally well, because you would have learned from your mistakes. So that's the mistakes I've done with overwatering. Yeah. Now, what do I do today, and what have I been doing for years now? What have I been doing? I let my plants dry out before I give them water. You are better off forgetting to water your plant than overwatering it when it's not, than giving it water when it's not ready to be watered. So rather, if you are not sure, let few days pass first. You're better off, believe me, than watering it when it's not ready to be watered. There you do more damage than anything else. So there, I really let them sit. I let them sit. And before, I used to think I'm being careless, am I not, is it not neglect? Am I not neglecting my plants? No, actually, it's the best thing you can do for your plants. Let them dry out. Let them dry out, and then you can give them water. So yeah, that's what I do. And it's also very important. Over the years, I've come to learn to also understand my plants. The joy about it is, you do get to a place where you know your plants now. You understand them. You know when you buy a plant and you bring a plant home, go and do your homework and understand, what kind of a plant did I just buy? Is it a moist loving plant, or is it a plant that likes to dry out? Once you have that information correct, you won't go wrong. Honestly speaking, once you have that information correct, that this is a moist loving plant. Now, even your moist loving plants, they do like to dry out in between watering. Don't They do. Just not completely, obviously. Don't let them go bone dry. But they do like to dry out in between watering. Stick your finger, your whole finger in. So that part, that much part of the soil, yes, must be dry before you water it. So don't just keep on giving it water, and because you are scared, you don't want it to dry out. No, even your moist loving plants, let them dry out a bit. Just don't let them go bone dry, but let them dry out a bit, and you'll see they'll flourish, they'll love it, and all that. So yeah, that's with regard to overwatering. uh, I've learned a lot from that, and I'm still learning, because as long as I'm gonna go out there and buy a plant I've never owned, I still have to learn water wise what that plant prefers. And I might get it wrong the first time, I might get it wrong the second time, but then I'll definitely get it right soon enough. And and it's a joy. I mean, I love challenging myself. I really do love challenging myself. And over time you get to learn that just leaving them alone doesn't mean you are neglecting them. Leaving them alone doesn't mean, like my mother-in-laws, my aloes, my succulents, my ponytails, you know I leave them for weeks and weeks. I don't water them so often. I leave them sometimes for a month or so. I leave them, unless if the pots are this small. Yeah, if the pot is this tiny, yes, I don't. A month is too long, because if the pot is this tiny, because this is very small. But other than that, I really let them sit, because those plants don't like to be sitting in a wet soil. They like to dry out. So once you know you're dealing with a plant that likes to sit, that likes to be dry, for the soil to be dry, don't bother it, because they store water in the leaves. You do get plants that stores their water in the leaves. Some, they store water in a stem. Like this is your ponytail. It stores water in a stem. I don't know if I can pick it up for me. It's too heavy. It stores water in a stem, and then you get your succulent looking kind of, this is baby rubber plant. It stores water in the leaves. So you don't wanna water these plants too often. You wanna let the soil dry out in between. Then you get other plants which, yeah, you know you let it dry out but not completely. Then you need to give them water. So I've learned that. I've learned my plants, what they prefer and what they don't like, what they like, and I try to keep it. I try to to give them exactly that, what they prefer. And the other thing I mentioned was lighting. I also learned a lot with lighting. I mean, when I first started, oh my goodness, I love plants. You must understand. I love plants. It's something from small. It didn't start now. It's something I grew up loving to do. I was one of those kids who eats a mango and then goes and as daddy to cut that pit open to get the seed out and germinate the seed and plant it. I was one of those kids. Anything I could germinate and plant, I'll germinate and plant. Though sometimes daddy will tell me, no, that's too much. Because then I wouldn't even ask him which part of the yard is it good for me to plant this tree. He will just rock up one day. As he does the garden, I'll follow him around the garden, and I'll be like, Dad, please don't dig that one. He's like, what is this? I'm like, it's a mango tree. Like, but you shouldn't have put it here. So yeah, so my love for plants is from as long as I can remember, since I was young. And so outside is a different story altogether. To be honest, you can't compare indoor planting and outdoor planting. It's a different story altogether. it's different altogether. Outside, I call it easy outside. I call it fun and games outside. It's super easy outside. But once you come indoors, it's so technical. Simply because you are bringing something that should be growing outside to come and grow it inside. One, in the space that it might not even be preferable for it. Two, the lighting might not be even ideal for it, or that the conditions, the humidity, everything, and you're gonna try and mimic where it's coming from in your house. So lighting wise, I was one of those who rocks up in a garden shop and I buy a plant because I love it. I don't check if it's gonna be okay in my space, if I have the good lighting for it, whether it prefers sun or shade, or low light or moderate or high, or and only when I see it deteriorating and it's not doing well, then I go back to the garden shop and I tell them this is what's happening to my plant. I show them photos and they're like, where are you putting it? How much sunlight is it getting? No, 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 no. And they'll tell me wrong lighting for it, or they'll tell me it needs shade, you've put it in, it's getting too much light, or they'll tell me it's getting too much sun, or it's not getting enough sun. And over that, though the beauty with that is your plant is not gonna die, but it's gonna suffer. It's not gonna grow well, it's not gonna develop well until you move it to a spot where it will be happy and then it will begin to grow well. And so yeah, those are the mistakes I've learned. And the beauty is if you are quick to see that there's something wrong with your plant, you can go and ask where you've bought it, or you can go on Google, you can check, you can research, and then and if it has anything to do with lighting, see where it should be and try to put it where it should be in your home light wise, and you will begin to see the difference soon, very soon, and quickly you will begin to see change. That's the beauty about it. You begin to see change. So and also moving your pots too much and too quickly. I used to do that a lot. Decorating wise, I would move my plants around. I wouldn't care really whether or not I would put them where I want to put them, because they look good there, they look beautiful there, not necessarily because they will do well. And some were okay, some they started declining again, and it will be because they were happy where they were before. And when I go to the garden shop, one of the questions would be, did you move it? How was it where you moved it before? Before you moved it, how was it doing? And I'll tell them it was doing fine. And they'll tell me, go back and put it where it was. Or find the spot that mimics or that looks like it gives that has the same environment compared to where it was, and move it to that. Because then if it was getting sun where it was, if you want to move it, make sure that you are moving it to a spot where it will still get sun. And if it was a plant that loves shade, make sure that if you want to move it, make sure where you're taking it, it will still be on a shade, on a shady spot. So yeah, it's things I've learned. Now, today when I move my plants, I think of those things before I move my plant. I see where it is, and I know where it is, it's happy. And if I decide I don't want it there anymore, I want it somewhere else, I will first check around the house, where will it do best. And if I can't find a spot where I feel it will do best, I don't move it, I don't bother it, and all that. So yeah, lighting matters a lot to your plants. Whether it's low, whether it's medium, whether it's high, whether it's sunny, whether it's shady, it matters a lot to your plants. Every plant requires a different environment light wise. So you cannot say all of them requires the same light. They don't all require the same light. They all require different kind of lighting, So, but you will only know that as you learn your plants or make research to understand your plants, and all that. So that's one thing I've learned. So now, after learning that, over time, I don't quickly just move my plant. And also, one thing you learn uh, as you go plant with lighting is that you get to know your house, you get to understand your house, you get to know what kind of light you get where and how and what time and how much and how long, and then you have an understanding of what will work here and what will not work there over a period of time. So that's lighting for you. So it's important when you buy a plant to first ask yourself, will it do well in my house? Now, to be very honest with you, not every plant will do okay in your house. There's plants I've made peace with that I love them, but I can't bring them to my house. They won't make it. They won't survive because I don't have the lighting they need. I don't have it, So I'm not gonna now stress myself with them. Yeah. So it's important to know that and understand that. And the third one was repotting. When I first started with indoor plants, oh my goodness, when I felt like changing this plant from this pot to that pot, I did it. Whenever I felt like it, I did it. And at the end, I realized that it was not good for my plants because then you're traumatizing them. Just when they're about to settle in their new pot, then I take them out. I put them in another pot. Then they get, you shock them every time. Just when they're about to settle down, I take them out and I put them in a new pot. Just because I've bought a new pot and I think this plant will do well, will look good in this new pot, then I take it out and not forgetting, actually knowing that I've done that. I've just reported it 2 days ago, and now I want to report it again, and a week later I want to report it again, and that is not good. And over time I've learned to just chill. Just chill, just relax, leave my plants alone. I report them when they need to be reported, unless if there's something completely wrong with them, and I'll check the soil. Other than that, I don't bother them. The other thing is, I used to do a lot is, when I would go and buy a plant, I would want to report it immediately when I get home. I don't do that anymore. And the only reason and the only time you'll find me doing that is when I don't like the potting mix that soil is sitting in, or if I feel the soil is the roots is pot bound, that they need to be the plant needs to be planted in something bigger, then I will repot, and I will move that plant from the nursery pot to a bigger pot. Otherwise, all I do lately is I buy a nice catch pole and I put the nursery pot in that catch pole, and I put it where I want it to go, and that way, I don't bother my plants, until it's time for me to repot. But I only do that when I feel the soil is sitting in, it's a good soil, it's a good draining soil, and the plant seems to be doing well and healthy. It's not giving me any issues. Then I'll leave it alone, and it's not pot bound, and I'll leave it alone until I feel it's time to repot. But otherwise, when I see that I'm not happy with the soil, or the plant is not quite 100% okay according to me, I move it and I give it fresh new soil, and all that. But early on, I lost a plant or two because of the excitement of repotting from one pot to another, because I like the pot and it's not good. So that's something I've learned. So yeah, I thought I'll share with you those 3 mistakes I've done in the past and something I've learned from. And yeah, I try not to do that anymore. So yeah, so it's a learning. I'm still learning. I haven't arrived. I'm still learning and I'm enjoying to challenge myself. I love challenging myself. I love learning new things. And I hope this video will help you a lot. And please leave a comment if it was helpful. If and share, please share with me if the mistakes you've done in the past. The mistakes you've done in the past and what you've learned from them. It would be nice to hear from you. But other than that, that's it from me today. Have yourself an awesome day. Bye.